I guess in this one, I'm just really thinking about kind of a final note on where Solo comes in the franchise, especially as the last A Star Wars story, the last EU film we have, but very much still in the vein of these eps 7, 8, 9, right, where we're getting the old guard dissipating, right? We're seeing that Leia is much older, but she's very much just passing this torch on to the younger rebellion. She's strictly a leader. You don't see her running and gunning in Ep 7, right? You don't see Luke until the last like 10 seconds. That's it. Luke was barely in the movie. A map to Luke was in the movie. Now that's a MacGuffin. The map to Skywalker. This thing that is just like, yeah, the story can't proceed without it, but it doesn't actually do anything except progress the story. That's it. We got to get Luke. The first words were Luke Skywalker has vanished, and I'm like, I know this movie started, and everything I knew about Luke from Ep 6 on has vanished. I'm aware. All right. Oh, you got a map to him? I would love to know where he is, and even better, where he's been, what he's been doing, what he has been up to, what is going on. And we don't get that. But we got old Luke. Han Solo dies. We got dead old Han, killed by his son, right? And we've set up Rey and Finn opposing him. We've got all of the pieces in play, but we don't actually have what happens with them, right? We have everything we need to move forward, but we don't have that stuff. And we're closing out a Skywalker Saga trilogy. And Solo kind of gives us that youthfulness of the saga in these other spaces. Youthful Han, new character Kira. We get young Lando. And so it kind of gives us this promise that we're reinvigorating. We create new characters and we reimagine, re-envision, and create the youngness of the franchise. So you get very much The Force Awakens, the franchise awakens, and you get these early looks. And so I'm really thinking about Solo in that way as well in terms of placement. So if you're thinking about it as, The Last Jedi, which I won't comment on because that's next week's fare, right? But Solo as this reinvigoration, right? And it comes as this weird moment where you have The Last Jedi, so you got this weird space of, well, what is The Last Jedi? What's going on? So you're approaching this thing of complete newness, also disappearance of the things we've known about the franchise. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about how it fits. One of the cool things about it is that you get these intense character studies done by the actors. And this is not new for Star Wars. Ewan McGregor was watching the tape on Alec Guinness to just nail that Obi-Wan cadence, style, tone, delivery, to just hit it hard and perfect. I haven't met the Star Wars fan who's disagreeing with Ewan McGregor's portrayal of Obi-Wan. And when we get that Disney Plus, I'm really excited. They've announced it's a limited series. What that says to me is really long movie, which I'm all about. I love the streaming service being about, you know what, we're not gonna do television until it gets canceled. Right? That used to be how we did TV. We used to just crank out a season after season after season after season after season. And the second it made no money, we canceled it. And so I'm sitting here like, I've been watching this show for 10 years and now I don't get to see how it ends. That's awful. But when you tell me limited series, there is an arc, a contained story that is being told. And now we're on. And when you get Ewan McGregor back in on that, oh, I'm so excited. It's going to be money. It's going to be a really long movie, right? It's going to be like a 10-week movie. It's going to be awesome. I love that dynamic. I love that which is happening, especially when you get that cast like Ewan McGregor, who's just crushing it in that role. Everyone was excited that Ewan McGregor was attached to another Obi-Wan prequel. And we get Alden Ehrenreich. He is really, and this is one of the things I really like about Solo, is that you see these little gestures, these little facial expressions. Because Han is just an archetypal, like, scoundrel, overconfident guy. Like, he pulls it off because of luck. He gets lucky, right? That's classic Han. And so we see it, we understand it. But here we're getting an overconfident Han, a young and brash Han Solo that kind of gets tempered by time. Okay. And so Alden Ehrenreich is a little unrefined in that he doesn't have the experience Han does in Ep 4, 5, 6, right? Even 7, when he's like, yeah, we're gonna go into hyperspace from within the ship. Is that possible? I never ask until after I've done it. And then he's also gonna just enter Starkiller Base's shields by cruising through the refresh rate at hyperspeed, right? Like, God, still crazy, still amazing, but less like all the time like young Solo is. We see a lot of cool mannerisms. Keep an eye out for those on a rewatch. I think that that Alden Ehrenreich got a lot of stuff right in that moment, where you see these things and it's almost like they're too quick for you to catch on your first couple watches. I just saw another one last night that I didn't realize was in there. There it is, and I was like, Harrison Ford, right? So cool. Keep an eye out for those. I also want to say the same thing about Donald Glover, where I can't get over the first moment we hear Lando, because I just like, I hear Billy D. Williams. And then afterwards, it's like the sound of Billy D. Williams speaking overtakes my ability to watch the movie. And then after I see Donald Glover, I'm like, oh man, he killed it. He did phenomenal, unreal. The kid's unreal. And then, of course, Emilia Clarke, she is wonderful. And we don't have any like old Kira to check on, but I think that it gives us all sorts of desires for that too, where Solo pushes us forward, where we want to see what Kira does as well. So I'm thinking about that as just really what we're getting from Solo, what it's doing, what it's for, and really just this kind of promise of reinvigoration, which I really hope, because it seems like what the franchise is doing is going backwards quite a bit, filling in a lot of the gaps that storytelling invariably has. I don't mean gap in that, oh, this isn't answered, this isn't done, but rather just that piece of the story wasn't told. One of my concerns is always the question, did we need it told? Right? And that's one of the driving forces behind my perspective on Solo. Did we need it told? Right? But I've grown to take an optimistic vision of the Star Wars franchise, because, gang, let's face it, Star Wars is phenomenal. You love Star Wars, and the question is, do you want to have like that ultimate lesson, that Sith hatred powering you through Star Wars, or do you want to have this opposite experience, this I love Star Wars for all these things. Like this Sith notion, this destructive hatred is a way to gain great authority in the franchise. Pointing to the flaws is a great way to gain authority. You've made a great point. There's a problem right there. But like, do you want to be like that? Is that how you want to relate to something you love by hating it? Odd, right? So I try to take this more positive look on things. I think it's an academic question. What is the role of Solo? That's how we treat this. We investigate it. We say Solo exists. Solo exists to do these things because it does do these things. And how does it sit within culture, within narrative, within what's going on? How do we understand the role of Solo, a Star Wars story? Gang, catch you in the rest of the vids and on the boards. Be good.